Okay, so we are
All
good.
right.
Sorry we're late, everybody. We have been having some challenges with routers and internet and Instagram and all the things, but we're here. So,
Okay.
how are you, Dr. Gladys? What's going on today?
I'm fine. But Rose Winters, who is our executive director for the Foundation for Living Medicine, she comes from a small town in Iowa, just 8,000 people. And one of the latest shootings that happened in the high school was in that high school, where she has a niece and a nephew who are both in the classroom, and the shooter actually attacked the president and of the school. So it becomes very personal when when the uh, anger and fear and uh, hopelessness of young people comes close to where we people we know live and all of that, but it's happening all over the country. And so I thought, well, I've been talking about having dogs in the classroom, guardian dogs. I still think it's
Mm-hmm.
a great idea, because if each room had a guardian dog, that dog would allow the student who's having troubles, emotion, because obviously he's got all kinds of emotional troubles, to relate to it and allow it to become something that person, that child, can relate to and learn to love. Because I think that these young men don't know about really understanding what love is
Mm.
or what death is. And so they this business of they trying to uh, figure out things, and they kill people and kill themselves, which is a very dark place for our country to be. So I think one of the things, instead of adding more guns to the picture or more killing to the picture or more attacking of what's wrong, if we take our energy and put it into what's right, what allows us to reach for the light and reach for hope and joy and work with our life going that way. Katie, it's what you're doing with this art therapy work.
Yes, I mean, definitely
Hello?
trying to bring love and light into different parts of the world and for people. But you're right. It's just astounding that it just keeps happening. Um, Linda from England is saying we've had lots of stabbings in England, children stabbing children. It's so sad.
Well, see, there's something missing in the world, as it's as we as humans are adapting to our position as being the only beings on earth who
Mm.
have free will and choice. And we've gotten all mixed up, and we don't understand that our free will means that we have the opportunity to take care of the earth, to take care of other people, to be the caregivers of this amazing uh, process we call life, this amazing place that we call earth. And instead of understanding that this is our privilege and our challenge, we've gotten all up and we think that we got to fight for it. Well, that we've done the fighting. All these eons of time we've been fighting for it. So now it's time for us, I think, for us to understand that you don't, it's like the whole field of medicine, which is geared towards getting rid of pain and disease. Well, if your whole object is to get rid of something, it makes it very complicated when you actually are wanting to live a life. If we change our direction back to life and living and what we can do to add to that life and living, we won't be increasing the pain and suffering, because we'll be reaching up in and through and past that, learning the lessons we need to learn from that, and going on with life and love.
You know, it just reminded me, I'm in the middle of a 3-day water fast, although I am having some tea. And I was listening to the woman that I've talked about before on here. Her name is Mindy Pelz, P-E-L-Z, and she's a chiropractor, but she's also written a book about fasting, and she's really gone on a mission to heal the planet through fasting. And she talks about the body's amazing ability to heal itself in the absence of food. And so what I was listening to today, she was talking about when we go into a fast, as the body is kicking in different what do I want to say, like at certain hours, different healing processes start occurring. And so like at 17 hours, we go into autophagy, where the cells start detoxing themselves and healing. And so anyway, she was talking about symptoms as they arise. And while you're in a fast, symptoms are going to be pushed to the surface. And instead of panicking and trying to take down the symptom, get curious about the symptom and get curious as to, why would I be having a headache? Why would I be having brain fog? Why would I be having pain in a particular area when my stem cells are kicking in at 36 hours of a water fast? And so it was just what you're talking about when you say that we've got these shooters, and that's just a symptom of the problem, right? And so we don't want to kill the symptom. We don't want to kill the, squash it down. We want to ask the question, why does this keep happening? Keep going back to the source. It's clearly showing us where something needs to be healed, and we're not seeing what needs to be healed, or it wouldn't be continuing to happen.
Well, we're not looking at the issue for what it is. It's a learning place, and there are different ways of learning lessons. But until we focus on the fact of what is this trying to tell us, fasting, find art therapy, find song, find gardening, find things that make us reach into our own healing capacity, so that we become the healers,
right,
not the killers. And if we can shift from that, from our view of ourselves as the healers of ourselves, of our own issues, of the things that our body is trying to tell us, pay attention here. If we've got an issue, it's like if I have a sinus infection, I know that that's a part of my body telling me that I withheld tears. So I need to do something about that to change from the now, just in talking about it, I'm beginning to have some sinus drainage.
Wow.
Isn't that wonderful? It's the process of our body being the instrument that allows us to understand the things that are going on that are good and hard. And if we just try to get rid of all the bad stuff in our lives, and we don't, try to, and that's okay to clean up your house and try to get rid of that. But if you don't plant something that is reaching towards life and love and laughter and labor and listening, or some focus on some direction that allows our soul to be happy, or to be alive, or to be looking for the light, or for someone they can help, or looking for something that is helping them reach up. Maybe it's fasting, maybe it's art therapy. Find something that allows us to be the person that we need to be and learn the lessons we need to learn.
Well, and the
So,
sad part too is that, these children that are, or young people that are doing these horrific things, I mean, they're just a byproduct of their environment. Don't
do you have
you
them?
think? I mean, yes, there's nature versus
Yeah.
nurture, so sure. Um, but I think that it's a product of the environment of the society in which we live, right?
Well, it's certainly that, Katie, but it needs, it's been misdirected as an arrow that
Right.
shot off someplace, but not that's in the direction. And Nora found something in my book this morning that I be is helpful.
Yeah,
Yes,
great.
I'll go ahead and read it.
Yes, please.
It's from page 108 in chapter 16. Sometimes people find it so hard to receive love from humans that it's easier to start with animals. This makes sense to me. Animals have fewer opinions and are far less likely to offend us. I've seen many patients begin to let love in through the love of a dog, a cat, or even a horse. I've had numerous dogs over the years, and I thought it was particularly important for my children to have them when they were small. Animals offer unconditional love and are easy for many of us to adore. They remind us that we are lovable and love able,
Mm,
even when we've forgotten. And once you receive love, health and happiness will follow. Then the only natural response is to start spreading it to
that
everyone
is
you meet.
so
So
beautiful.
beautiful.
So, if we can, each one of us who is at this moment listening and not trying, and in the process of finding what it is that for them is a living, active something. It may be a little plant, it may be something. I have the story of my friend James. And he was a longtime friend of our family, and then he moved into dementia. And so we had a lovely home where he was well taken care of. So one day I dropped in to see him, and I took a little plant that was a little plant, a window plant. And when I came in, I said, James, now he just didn't, it didn't look like he was
Mm,
understanding what I was saying, but I said it anyway. I said, now, James, here's this plant that I brought for you, and it is going to depend on you to take care of it, because it's going to need love in the way of getting water and sunshine, but it's going to love you and you're going to love it. And I talked to him about the plant and gave it some personality and so on. And then I left. And as far as I knew, he had not understood anything. But when I came back a week later, he met me at the door of his room and he says, magic, magic, those two words. And I said, oh, wow, what's magic? And so he says, this box, this box. And he takes me over to the air conditioner box on the wall. And he says, push this button. Ooh, cool air all over. And plant loves that. But push this button. Ah, hot air. It makes the plant sad. And just that little plant allowed the thought and the feelings that I had in working with him break the barrier that called dementia. You know, it didn't look to me like he was understanding anything, but I really wanted him to have the feeling of that. And because I loved it, the whole idea of this little plant, he took it over and he was taking care of that plant. It
So
changed things for
beautiful.
him.
Yeah, somebody saying love is the cure.
So it is love.
Right.
Love is the great healer. And everything that you do in love has a healing process and a life process. It's a living
So
process.
somebody asked up in the chat a little minute ago, after we had mentioned purpose, what is our purpose? And I mean, that's a very general statement because we all have our own purpose for being on this planet. But what would you have to say about that, just purpose and finding our purpose?
Well, right now, being 103 years old, I have a 10-year plan. 10-year plan for the future is it includes and is directed towards a village for living medicine, where the people who come and live in that village are understanding what living medicine is, and the whole focus is on love and being understanding the whole process of what life is about. So it's my purpose for life at this point, from this moment on, is to continue to reach for the life and love that goes on as we live in a environment that is perpetuating.
Nope, you're good. You're
Oh,
good.
I moved this. I'm good. Uh, it's perpetuating life. It's not hiding from life. It's not trying to get rid of life in the form of getting rid of even the, the diseases that are teaching us lessons. If we learn, reach out and learn from them. So it's how we're using our life energy, both for ourselves and for the world around us and for each other.
That's beautiful. And when did that happen for you? I mean, that wasn't always your purpose. So did you find that over the course of your 103 years on the planet, your purpose changed during different times of your life?
It had to change in how it was lived out. The purpose did not change, but my purpose has really in my heart always been living my life to my fullest. I mean, that's that. And so reaching for that in different, like when I had 6 children and they were all in the process of growing up and so on, it was completely
Right.
different from my situation now, where my eyesight is so poor, I can't read. I need to have the audio books, which is an amazing thing, and I'm so grateful for. But my children and my grandchildren and my great grandchildren are around here, wherever in this world, wherever they are, and I we are communicating in a way that allows them to be functional and loving human beings. And it takes a family to build another family. And if that family is based on love and life and laughter and hope, and that's what you build, and it becomes a reality. That's why we have these blue zones around the world, is that people have been looking for that kind of a place. Well, this village for living medicine that I'm talking about is that, and it will the far of the uh, first part of it will be a loving birth center where we reclaim that our feminine women's right and responsibility and love of birthing babies, which we've now mechanized so much that it's a medical procedure, and we've given up because we expect in our language we've done that. We a woman who's going to have a baby or has had a baby talks about being delivered of that baby. Now, if you're delivered of something, it means you don't have the ability or the purpose or the energy to do what we women are can do, and only we as women can do, is birth that baby. We need help doing it, and sometimes a C-section is essential or whatever. But the point being that we have totally abdicated our position as women who birth babies. Now, who else in the world can birth babies? No one. It's us. And that's the ultimate experience of femifesting. So you can have an entity that can manifest. It's the bringing about the duality in this world of ours. And when you think about it, it's very hard for us, for me, all these years I've been working with helping women have their babies and calling it labor. In fact, the room is called the labor room, and the whole is called labor. Well, it might be labor, but labor has the need to be helped. And as we're saying, as women, that we abdicate our job of birthing these babies. Now, that does not mean that there are times when we need help. I'm not saying that for a minute. And that's really, really important. But abdicating what's going on by, you know, calling it being in labor, that's one thing, but having to be delivered, we deliver, and we deliver speeches or whatever. We don't deliver babies. We have to birth our babies. And the birthing of a baby is a loving act that is above everything else. You can't put it into words, really. But that reclaiming our feminifestation aspect of who we as women are, the ones and the only ones on this planet who can birth babies. And we we don't, in the field of medicine, we've
Mm.
taken that away from us. Now that does that there's times when we need help. That's not what I'm saying at all. And a C-section sometimes is a very important way, or whatever the procedure is, a very important way of helping
Mm.
us birth our
Well, it's
babies.
so exciting that that will be the first, it seems fitting that that will be the first thing to start the Village for Living Medicine, the birth. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you that somebody wrote in. Rasha says, I love you, doctor. You are inspiring and I am learning a lot from you. I would like to ask you what advice you would give to people who are held back by fear.
Well, face it, fear is scary. If you face it and look it in the eye, you can scare it away. Talking figuratively, but in reality, if there's something that scares the living bejeebers out of us, let me tell you a story, because this is my own personal story. When I was in third grade, the teacher gave me the job of being the one who was able to take a message from our first grade, a third grade, to the rest of the whole school body. And so this one day we had a play, and it was called The Frog Jumped Over the Pond. And I was the frog because I was tall and I could do this. And my mother made me a green suit that I could wear. And I walked out onto that platform and I knew I could do this. And I walked onto the platform, and as I stepped up to the place where I was going to jump over the pond, I looked out into the audience, and my two older brothers were in the front seat of the whole audience. And it just threw me off my step enough so that instead of jumping over the pond, I jumped into it. And it was a big basin, and I jumped into that, and I'm standing there, and my suit is fading, and I'm crying, and I didn't know what to do. And the audience is hysterical. They're laughing so hard. They're all doubled up with laughter. And I was totally broken.
Oh no, what happened to your sound? We can't hear you. Can you guys hear Dr. Gladys, or is it just me that can't hear her? Somebody type in if you can hear Gladys. Gladys, can you hear me? You guys can hear me. Ah, we can't hear her. Oh no. Okay, hold
But whatever it was, took the issue of the fear and the horrible situation for me, which was like, when you're 8 years old and you could committed a huge crime or some such thing. But what my mother was able to do was to take that situation and put into a context of laughter and love. And whatever the situation is that we're looking at, we can do it that way, or we can hang on to what's bad about it.
Okay, so we lost you at some point in the middle of that story, and you had no sound.
Oh.
You're back now, and everybody wants you to retell the story. Some people are saying it's in the book. But if you could just go back to the part where you had jumped into the pond, everybody was laughing at you, you were crying, and that's when we stopped hearing you.
Okay, yeah. So the teacher had to come and take me off the stage. I was too broken and too scared to move. I was just stuck in the, like a person could get stuck in fear and you just can't move. Well, I was in that position, and the teacher came and led me off the platform and so on. And that night at dinner, my brothers were telling the family the whole story and about how really, really funny it was. And they were laughing and laughing, and I was giving them bad eye, and they weren't paying attention to me, but they were just laughing at the table. And finally, my mother says, "All right, boys, now you've had your fun. What can we as a family do to help Gladys if she ever gets into this situation again, so that she'll have people laughing with her, not at her?" And what that did, I don't know what the family decided, but whatever it was, it turned a key within me so that I knew, and I have, there have been, I can't tell you how many times I've walked up on to a platform and something has happened, I've tripped or something, but I can always say something funny that starts the whole process, so that I have the audience in my hand before I ever say anything important. It's just something that I learned when I was this 8-year-old girl who went through that. Now, there are times when you could get stuck in something. Now, let me tell you, because it happens to all of us. Here's a funny thing I will tell you. I was 99. I just had my 99th birthday, and I stopped at the grocery store to get some groceries, and I was putting them into my cart, and an elderly gentleman came by, and he says to me, "Oh, may I help you?" And I said, "No, I can do this." And he puffs himself up, and he says, "Well, I'm 86." And I looked at him, and I said, "Huh, I'm 99." And I marched off and got into my car and sat down, and I said, "You nasty old woman." All he was trying to do was be nice, and look at how you treated him. So I'm talking to myself and saying, "You better go into that grocery store and apologize, because that's just a bad thing." And then I got to thinking about what really had happened, and I realized that it was so funny. It was like two kindergarten kids in a sandbox trying, one trying to outside. And I got to laughing, and I was laughing so hard, there was no way I could go in and apologize to him. And I got to thinking about it. You know what he'll do? He'll go home and he'll say to his wife, I tried to help this, and that nasty lady turned around." So I became a bad symbol for him. But what I was focusing on was the comedy of the situation. In other words, if we're in a scary place, let's look for something that's either funny or something that is light and has a reason for it, and work our way out of it, not down deeper into it. Because if we keep looking over our left, right, or whichever shoulder at what we did wrong or what's been done wrong to us or where we're stuck, we're going to be stuck there and we're going to have a stiff neck. So but you realize, you look back and you see it and you do what you need to do, turn your head around and start looking to the light and looking for either something humorous. If you know, even if you can get yourself to laugh and it isn't funny, laughter is healing. It just is.
Well, so she's saying, I have no idea if Rasha is a she, but the comment is, I meditate about fear, really helps. I suffer badly with fear from driving, but I am working on it and other things, but that's my main fear.
Well, what works for you, kiddo, use what works for you, because you're working your way out of it, not deeper into it. You're not getting your neck stuck into it and looking at what's fear. You're saying, fear, here I am. Now, what are we going to do about this?
And
that's
isn't there that saying,
healing.
False expectations appearing as real is what fear's for?
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely. Because if you're just looking at the thing that scares you, you ain't going no place. You're stuck
it's
there.
interesting. I did 2 different things, one of which was a fire walk. I don't know if you've ever done anything like that, but talk about fear. So it was like a 30-foot long thing of hot coals. And they get you in the right mindset and you're chanting and you're doing the thing. And then everybody takes a turn and you're walking across these hot coals and you're not burning your feet. And it was amazing. Like, I went across probably 3 times and didn't burn my feet. And there were people, it was so interesting. There was a woman that went across, was fine, and then she kept repeating to herself, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I did that. And like 2 minutes after she did the walk, she got 3rd-degree blisters on her feet because her body was in disbelief and she fell into the disbelief. So that's what happened. But it was a mind over matter. It was just, I'm going to make myself do this. And it was really one of the most amazing experiences I've done.
That's right. Well, when we were in Fiji, we watched the fireworkers do this, and they walked with grass skirts over burning coals, and the skirts didn't get burned, and their feet didn't get burned.
It was pretty amazing. And then the other thing we did, it was a similar setting. It was all with a chiropractic group that we were with doing seminars. Was we had a piece of rebar. Do you know what rebar is? It's that metal, the metal thing that goes into building walls. It's like a 6-foot long piece of rebar. And I put one piece right in the notch above my sternum. And then I was with my ex-husband at the time, and he put the other end in the notch above his sternum. And you were supposed to, without having conversation, just looking at each other, and then through the eye contact, you make the choice to step forward, and you're supposed to step forward, and at a certain point, the rebar bends, and you end up hugging each other with this rebar bent in between you. And I was so freaked out to do this because I kept feeling like, no, it's going to puncture my throat. And so finally I turned to the person who was facilitating this whole thing, and I just said, I can't do this. I am so freaked out by this. And I don't even know what the facilitator said, but I put it back and I just listened to whatever it was they were saying. And it was all about the first step. Once you make the first step, the tension on this rebar, obviously they had figured out the length in which a rebar would bend, and it just bent, and then we were good, and we were hugging each other, and this piece of rebar was bent in the middle. But it was, the whole point of that particular thing was, it was all about that first step. Feel the fear and do it anyway. And that sounds kind of like a masculine way to move through the world, but I don't know, there's some pretty fierce warrior women out there that birthing babies is not for the timid, that's for sure.
Well, boy, I tell you, Kay, I
Yeah, it
never
was
heard of
pretty
that one.
crazy. But
Yeah.
how empowering. I mean, it's
So,
really about taking the first step and knowing that you're supported. And it makes me feel like when you were 8 years old and your mother, maybe what you learned at that point was, I mean, your mother had your back, your family had your back.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, we all have the opportunity to
Mm,
live through these dark times. We all have those dark times, and they and illnesses and things that happen, like happened in Rose's little town there. These things happen, but our choice
right.
is how we respond to it, either with the reality, understanding that we move through it, or we're going to get stuck in it. And
Mm-hmm.
we have that choice, and it's a lot better to be able to find ways, either laughter or energy processes or things that the world around you knows, and you begin to look for those things. I mean, what is this firewalker stuff? What is this bending?
People.
Uh, there are people who have experimented with these aspects of energy and are teachers in
Mm.
these aspects of energy, and they can let you
Mm-hmm.
know what's going
So the
on.
person that was afraid of driving said, yes, because not driving has prevented me from being independent. But this year I'm going to do it because I want to. Yeah.
And, and
Yeah.
yeah,
And getting the
yeah,
support and getting whoever needs to be in the car with you and all of those things is so helpful.
right,
Well, good.
yeah, yeah. So you're doing, you're using your juice wisely,
Yeah.
but also wildly, because going against the fear thing that would keep you from doing it, and you're saying,
Right. Right.
we're doing this.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I am going to have to say we need to sign off. It's now 2 o'clock my time, and I've got patients coming in. And I know we started late, which is why we went a little bit later. So I'm glad so many people jumped on and had conversation with us, because we always love that. So I am going to have to say farewell for the day.
All
Well,
right.
I love you, and thanks for being here and imparting your wisdom with all of these beautiful people that show up every week to listen to what your beautiful advice and just your just sharing of yourself and your life is just so special.
And Happy New Year, and in Hindustani,
Love it.
that's Bara Din Mubarak
All
ho.
right, everybody. Thanks again for being here, Gladys. We will catch up, and I will see you next week. All right.
All right.
Bye.